As you guys are aware, I am a colossal fan of Space Marines. Always have and always will be. I'm even a big believer and love of all of the Primera stuff. Having said that, I actually don't know if I could name all the different Primaris units that exist today or what their primary function is on the tabletop. So I thought I would start a new series that will be kind of part of the Space Marine Chronicles series on my channel, where I go through specific units for Space Marines, get one of them painted up in the video, and describe what they are, what their function is on the tabletop, and a little bit about their lore. I think it could be a fun series, so hopefully you're looking forward to watching it. The one I'm going to start with, which is today's video, is on the Bladeguard Veteran, one of my personal favorites. So let's get in and get that done. So this is the Bladeguard Veteran in question that I will be working on for today's video. I think this series of videos could be quite interesting because, like I said in the intro, I am not 100% sure of all the different Primaris units that do currently exist. There is so many. I don't even have all their names kind of locked into my brain yet. And that's something that's bothered me. So I thought when I creation of this series, I would obviously help me learn all the different units, what their purpose is in the battlefield, which ones I want to take for which versions of my Space Marine chapters that I'm doing, and also help you guys out along the way. So today's video, I thought about doing a Bladeguard Veteran because I consider it to be one of the coolest new units for Primaris Space Marines. So let's find out what a Bladeguard Veteran is. Bladeguard Veterans are Primaris First Company veterans, so they serve in the first company of whatever chapter that they serve under. Bladeguard Veterans go into battle clad in richly ornamented armor, covered with seals of purity and adorned with victory icons and heraldic items. This basically means that they've been giving the finest armor that the Imperium or Belisarius Call has to offer, and they're clad in lots of basically medals and stuff for fighting so many glorious battles. Their imposing storm shields are the work of an entire generation of chapter serfs, and the powerful force shield generators they house are said to protect the soul of their wearers as well as their flesh. This shows that they've been given some fairly high quality shields to protect themselves in combat. If you do look at the shields that these guys have on their models, they are fantastic. They also wield master crafted power swords, which are usually only reserved for things like captains or lieutenants, stuff like that. So for the entire unit of a chapter to be wielding master crafted power swords is absolutely insane. This equipment comes out of the chapter's reliquaries during wartime, and it reminds battle brothers who see it in battle of the legacy they swore to honor upon their enthronement. Basically, the power of a Bladeguard Veteran is not only in his martial prowess, but the concept of seeing a squad of these on a battlefield. Basically, it's like seeing a banner. Squads will rally around them. They will feel more emboldened in their presence, and they will fight ever harder in their presence because they don't want to let down the chapter or be seen as less of a soldier in the eyes of such honored warriors as these guys. Now, would you guys take these in an actual army, or is it just a nice fancy unit that won't really see the tabletop? Well, that's kind of up to you. There's a couple of different playstyles which allow the use of these Bladeguard Veterans. They're primarily used alongside a character. They want that character to buff them, and you can take 3 or 6 of these guys to accompany a character into combat, and they will indeed do quite a lot of damage on the tabletop. They're also quite a bit resilient with 3 wounds apiece, and of course with the 4+ invulnerable save from their shields, they're quite hard to shift. Some people online suggest that Terminators still do make up a better elite's choice for your army because of the 2+ armor save. You can never really knock a 2+ armor save, but the counter to this is anything with the 2+ save generally takes up 2 spots in transport. So they suggest when you take a Bladeguard unit, it's best taken with a transport alongside it. Something to zoom these guys up the battlefield, allow them to deploy in relative safely, engage the enemy without taking losses, and then continue to fight for the remainder of the battle. And when they do get there, they do release quite a lot of damage, considering that each and every one of them, let's say we take a squad of 6 Bladeguard Veterans, we'll exclude the character for now. That is going to be 24 mastercrafted power weapon attacks from that squad, hitting on 3s, strength 5, -2 AP, and 2 damage. That means they are taking out full squads of enemy Chaos Space Marines in one round of combat. It's pretty insane. and something that is quite useful in a battle situation. Not only that, but they also work in two different ways depending on what kind of opponent you are facing. So if you are facing something like massed infantry or something a little bit lighter, and you're not so worried about the repercussions of them striking back at you, you may enact the Sword Brethren to fight in the Swords of the Chapter kind of formation, which basically means that they get to reroll hit rolls of a 1 in combat, which is pretty useful. If you're fighting something a little bit more dangerous, like you're fighting a Demon Prince or a Demon Primarch or something that's going to smack you back quite hard and you're worried about losing your soldiers, you can enact the Shields of the Chapter option, which will give them a reroll saving throws of 1, so they get to reroll their 1s of armor saves, which is pretty good for helping them stay alive a little bit more efficiently. I also think they're quite reasonably priced. At 180 points, you will get 6 of these guys in your army. Remembering that each and every one of them have 3 wounds apiece. So that's 16 wounds on the tabletop, which I think is pretty good. That's not math, it's 18 wounds, never mind, excuse me. 18 wounds on the tabletop. And if you compare this to something like Assault Intercessors, which for 150 points you'll get 10 guys, but that's only 20 wounds. So I think that's a pretty fair trade. You're going to pay 30 points more in the squad. You're going to have, of course, lose 4 models on it. But when you take wounds into consideration, which is basically more important than the actual model count, I feel, you're only using 2 wounds. And the benefit is all the extra crazy equipment you get. A Mastercrafted Power Sword and your Storm Shield. And the ability to choose whether to use your sword or your shield in combat to get extra benefits. I think it's a no-brainer. I think Bladeguard Veterans definitely belong in a Primaris Space Marine army, in my humble opinion. One of the things that I do struggle with a little bit with them, and this is something that we talked a little bit about in my stream over on Twitch, is the concept of, would something like Black Templars have Bladeguard Veterans? There's no rule that says they cannot take them, but do you think Sword Brethren take up the space of them in a Space Marine chapter, a Black Templars chapter? My answer is yes. I think there would not be Bladeguard Veterans. I think if you got to the rank of a Bladeguard Veteran, you would become a Sword Brethren instead. They're like the equivalent unit. Someone in my chat disagreed and said they are 2 different units for 2 different purposes. But I'd love to know if you guys have any opinions on that moving forward. I would really like to hear what you have to say. It's super important to me. If you're liking the way this video is working out, you want to know any other pieces of information or anything like that, please do let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you like the video. If you do, give the video a like. If you have any questions or any other information you want to know when it comes to units on the tabletop, please do let me know in the comments below as well. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Those 3 things cost you absolutely nothing, but they make a huge difference as to how many people get to see each and every one of the videos. If you want to help support the channel even further, of course, the best way to do that is sign up as a channel member or, of course, over on Patreon. With that, you get access to a private Discord server where you can talk to me on a daily basis about your hobby, take part in all different events we have going over there, whether it's community showcases or painting competitions, stuff like that. And you get an extra video every single week just for you guys. So if they sound like 2 interesting things that excite you, like I said, check them out, linked in the description below. You may have noticed that I've also decided to paint up this particular Bladeguard Veteran as an ultramarine. I've painted up a couple of different characters for my ultramarine army so far, but actually I've had no squads done yet. But I do have things like Guilliman painted up, and I feel like Guilliman needs a bodyguard. And for me, there's no better choice of a bodyguard for Guilliman than some Bladeguard Veterans. So that's what I'm going to paint up this unit as. Some of my favorite things inside of the Ultramarines chapter, of course, are also the Victrix Guard, and they are led by, of course, Sicarius. He is leading an entire squad of Victrix Guards, which are supposed to be the personal bodyguard of Guilliman, but there's no option to take Guilliman with Victrix Guard, and there's no option to take a Victrix Guard unit outside of that. So in my head, I would obviously convert up and paint up some different guys and use the rules for Bladeguard Veteran to represent those, and of course protect Guilliman. I think that would be a very cool project to do, and something I would be excited to get started. I really like how this guy is turning out. I really like learning a little bit more about Bladeguard Veterans, and I think as I'm going through this whole process throughout the day, all that information, because I've absorbed so much of it, will stick in my head for a long time, meaning that this unit is ticked off in my head, and I can now move on to the next unit of Primaris Marines that I want to learn about, figure out all their different ins and outs, why they exist, what their purpose is on the battlefield, how to build and paint them, and then obviously that information will get stored, and I will continue doing this until I have a full list of all the different units in my head, and I'll know exactly what I'm doing moving forward. Last step now is of course to throw on some transfers, an elite symbol transfer on the right, as it is of course a company veteran, and then of course the ultramarine U on the left side. And with that, we will finish off this beautiful Bladeguard veteran. I have 2 more of these guys to paint from this box set, and I think I'll do another 3 to match it all in together. And that will finish off my first unit deep dive for the Space Marines, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video.